So you ask me, hey Harris, who's going to be the most improved college football team from 2025 to 2026? And I think that answer is pretty clear. Oklahoma State. Now, I'm not going to talk about their 2025 season for long because I would prefer if Oklahoma State fans stayed watching the video instead of just clicking out of it. But I'll sum it up like this. Last year, from college football standards, Oklahoma State couldn't run the ball, they couldn't pass the ball, they couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't stop the pass. And when those four things are all pretty big issues, kind of hard to win games. That's all I'll say about it. We move on. Eric Morris. Eric Morris is an amazing hire for Oklahoma State. I'd call this a program-changing hire. So, those of you that watched North Texas last year, you know. But North Texas had the highest scoring offense in the whole FBS last year, 45 points per game. They were also blowing teams out. They were 12-2 last year. And they didn't necessarily need a lot of luck to be 12-2 either. Beating teams by 16 points per game. It's 8th in the sport. And a little bit of context about Eric Morris that I think is really important. Before North Texas, Eric Morris was at Incarnate Word. At Incarnate Word, Eric Morris actually discovered, recruited, and developed Cam Ward. Yes, the Cam Ward that is at the Tennessee Titans right now. Number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Also was his offensive coordinator at Washington State. Those offenses did very well. So Eric Morris has a great eye for talent at the quarterback position. Enter Drew Mestemaker. Drew Mestemaker was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. And this is a crazy story, and people don't know this, but Drew Mestemaker wasn't even a quarterback in high school. Never played quarterback. He showed up to North Texas as a walk-on because in high school he played safety and was a punter. This same guy proceeds to throw for 4,300 yards, 34 touchdowns, 9 picks, and rush for 5 touchdowns. And you think of the pieces that Drew Mestemaker has around him that came with Eric Morris to Stillwater, this running back room is stacked. Like, this is not only one of the best running back rooms in the Big 12, this is one of the best running back rooms, folks, in the country. Caleb Hawkins at North Texas last year as well. 1,400 yards rushing, 25 rushing touchdowns. This was huge for Oklahoma State to land him. Because when you have a guy like Caleb Hawkins who demands so much attention from the defense, when you start running play actions, all of a sudden, those linebackers are going to bite. On some of those RPOs, they fear the run. They don't just think run, they fear run. So those linebackers bite. Middle of the field, wide open. And heavy personnel, which really opens up the pass. It's like Sam Darnold, for example. Why did Sam Darnold do so well in Seattle as opposed to the Jets or the Panthers? Well, Seattle's got one of the best run games in the NFL, folks. So all of a sudden, teams try to match it. That frees up explosive after explosive for the pass and gets Jackson Smith and Jigba one-on-one. Same thing with having a guy like Caleb Hawkins. That's what he does to your defense. I mean, Caleb Hawkins averaged 4.6 yards after contact per carry. Not per carry, yards after contact per carry. Second in the FBS. So this guy, reason why I bring up that stat is because there could be a learning curve for North Texas on the offensive line. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. There typically takes time. It typically takes time to build an offensive line. It's not like the rest of the transfer portal where you can get a receiving room, retool it, bam. But it's not just him. They got one of the most underrated transfers, I think, in the whole FBS. Trey Page from Tarleton State. Trey Page at the FCS level averaged 7.5 yards per carry. Really fast guy. Sort of like smash and dash with those two, we'll call it. So this running back room is absolutely loaded. And then you look at the guys that Drew Mestemaker is going to have to throw to at receiver. Well, from North Texas, Wyatt Young. Wyatt Young is a huge big play guy. 18 yards per reception. That's 4th in college football. Amazing after the catch. Led college football in yards after the catch per reception at 11. The only guy who forced more missed tackles than Wyatt Young, who played wide receiver last year, is Malachi Toney from Miami. And by the way, Drew Mestemaker had a 140 passer rating when throwing to Wyatt Young. So they got a big play receiver, and because of that running back room, I'd imagine he's going to get more one-on-ones. Okay? That field's going to be open. This offense is going to be explosive, folks. And those 5 guys that I listed, that's already a major improvement for Oklahoma State. Those guys can get you from like 1 win to like 7, maybe even alone. And look, you look at the defensive side of the ball. It's not going to be elite like the offensive side of the ball, but hey, they have some dudes. 4 Power 4 transfers on the D-line, 2 guys from North Texas who played meaningful snaps there. Ethan Wazlowski at inside linebacker. That's a huge get. He converted 91% of his tackles at North Texas last year. And quarterbacks had a 62 passer rating when throwing to him. He was kind of the glue to that defense last year. Get a lockdown corner, Colin Lewis, allowed a 42% catch rate there, 30 passer rating when teams threw to him. So this defense, I'm not going to sit here and say that they are world beaters, that they are one of the top 5 defenses in the sport. But with an offense that's going to be as explosive as this offense is, they just need to be able to hang. They don't need to be a truck. They just need to be a trailer. And you know what? I think North Texas has got some, I beg your pardon, I think Oklahoma State has got some underrated dudes on that defense. And so, all this to say, I don't know if people fully comprehend how rough it was for Oklahoma State last year. There is a standard to Oklahoma State. I know this because when I was a little kid, Oklahoma State, year in and year out, was in the national spotlight. Routine BCS Bowl appearances. They were one Iowa State upset away from playing in the national championship game. So I know the standard. And the standard obviously hasn't been close to that. This team will be night and day compared to last year. Night and day. Not going to sit here and say they're going to be in the corporate football playoff year 1. No. But I think they have a better shot than most would think. Look, they're going to be extremely improved. And sometimes in the Big 12, look, you can have some 2022 TCUs who may not be elite in the trenches, but they're so explosive on the outside that sometimes that's all it takes. Like Josh Hoover, Kendre Miller, Quentin Johnston. Oklahoma State can be that type of team this year. And after Texas Tech, that Big 12 is as wide open as it gets. And all it takes is one team getting in that championship and winning one game. So, yeah, Oklahoma State's going to have their work cut out for them in the trenches. No doubt about it. But on the outside, man, this is an elite football team, and they're explosive. And I think this defense can hang.